weather, distraction, fatigue. When operating a heavy truck, the results can be disastrous. The corporate research and development facilities of Eaton Corporation, a world leader in heavy truck brakes, collision avoidance systems, and onboard microprocessor controls, has contracted with the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration to develop technology to avert such disaster through autonomous vehicle braking. Specifically, to prototype and assess the feasibility and potential market acceptance of a system that automatically initiates vehicle braking if the driver fails to do so when collision with another vehicle is imminent. Such a system requires the integration of onboard electronic intelligence, radar technology, traction control hardware, engine throttle control, and anti-lock braking, and would act, in essence, as a second set of eyes for the driver, and thus provide a second chance at collision avoidance. The system envisioned does not replace the need for driver braking, for example, when approaching a stop sign or light unobstructed. Further, the system is inactive while the driver is braking, and thus will not improve braking initiated by the driver. Its purpose is strictly to attempt to avoid a head-on collision the driver fails to recognize. And at this time, the technology under development is demonstrating the potential to do so. The strength of the NHTSA Eaton approach is that the radar system and braking system are fully developed working systems validated to industry standards. This hardware includes components of the Eaton VORAD collision warning system, a radar mounted onto the front of the truck, a driver display unit, and an electronic control unit. The Eaton VORAD system is installed on several hundred heavy-duty trucks and has proven to warn drivers to obstacles unseen or unnoticed ahead so that the driver may brake in time to avoid a collision. The vehicle braking system is an integrated Eaton ABS traction control system consisting of standard wheel-in brakes, a system controller, a traction control valve which pressurizes the vehicle air brake system in the same way as the treadle valve controlled by the brake pedal, and ABS valves at each wheel, which alternatively hold and release the wheel-in brakes to decelerate the vehicle. System engine and throttle controls conform to SAE J1922 and J1587 recommended practices. At this stage of development, the system control unit has been developed on a portable computer. A production-ready system will embed portions of this hardware and software into the collision warning controller and/or into the ABS traction system controller. The primary challenge of the program has been to integrate the features and functions of collision warning, anti-lock braking, and traction control into a seamless, autonomous braking system that both warns and acts to prevent a collision. Let's take a closer look. The system control monitors radar data and vehicle speed data thousands of times a second. Whenever it calculates the vehicle is closing dangerously on an object ahead and concurrently determines the driver is not applying the brakes to avoid the collision, it commands the driver display unit to alert the driver, overrides the driver's control of the throttle, and commands the ABS traction control system to pressurize the brake system, initiate braking, and, as necessary to avoid lockup, individually activate the ABS valves at each wheel to safely distance or stop the vehicle. Again, an imminent collision is sensed. The driver warned. Throttle released. Brake system pressurized, and as necessary, ABS valves activated. The entire sensing and activation sequence takes 50 milliseconds, about 4 times faster than a quick blink of an eye. Once the system is activated, the driver may at any time override the system and assume control of the braking effort by applying pressure to the brake pedal. A final note, the PC-based control requires using 3 communications data links, SAE J1922, SAE J1587, and the CAN-based protocol. The final system will be simplified and adhere to new heavy truck communications protocols proposed in SAE J1939. The system is currently under test at the Eaton Proving Grounds, mounted on a Kenworth tractor with loaded flatbed trailer, together representing a gross combined weight of 76,000 pounds. Eaton and contract drivers have been used to operate the test vehicle. For the tests reviewed here, an Eaton driver with 14 years of operation experience on a variety of heavy-duty trucks with and without ABS, and a contract driver with 19 years of experience on a variety of vehicles without ABS were retained. An initial set of tests determined the average stopping distance for a hard or panic stop initiated and controlled by the driver. Braking distances were measured from the point at which a test technician, out of sight of the driver, signaled the driver to brake with an audible tone to the point at which the vehicle came to rest. Over 20 runs on dry pavement, the two drivers averaged a stopping distance of 272 feet. Under the same conditions, for the same number of runs, braking initiated and controlled by the autonomous braking system averaged 242 feet. Over 60 runs on wet pavement, the drivers averaged a stopping distance of 390 feet. Over the same number of runs, the autonomous braking system averaged a stopping distance of 318 feet. A second set of tests evaluated the system under braking triggered by the introduction of a second vehicle. First, the van entered the lane ahead of the truck and decelerated, activating the system. With the driver steering, the system safely slowed the truck to a stop. Again, the system provides safe, controlled stopping. As an alternative to this scenario, the van entered the lane ahead of the truck and accelerated. In this case, the system recognized the van's acceleration and determined it's safe for the truck to continue on at the same speed. To provide a preliminary indicator of market acceptance, several drivers were interviewed independently after the testing to solicit impressions of the autonomous braking system. Those participating in the tests just witnessed had these comments.
The system has possibilities. It seems like it's a good idea, but there's enough bugs in it that it has to be worked out before it can go on the highway.
I feel that this is the next step to ABS braking to enhance it. I use it as driving in an emergency situation. It worked out good. It's something that it's not used every day, but emergency situations aren't every day either. So when it happens, this system is pretty reliable.
I'd say the system braked when it was supposed to. When we came up on a vehicle that was going 30 miles an hour slower than we were, it slowed us down to the same speed as that vehicle.
First time we did attempted testing of the vehicle pulling in front of the truck, vehicle slowing down, truck approaching the vehicle, I did not apply the brakes yet, and I would have applied the brakes myself because we were getting close to the vehicle. At that point, I guess it was hard not to stop, but the vehicle, I was putting my hands or believing that the system was gonna work. And once the system did come on, it stopped rather quickly and smoothly, and the vehicle the distance at that time was, I was relieved that the truck was gonna stop. I guess that's.
Considering my experience, I think I think the younger drivers, the ones that are just coming out of truck training, driver's training, and those that are computer literate are going to have much more benefit from this system than, say, someone that's been already driving for 15 or 20 years. They might be open-minded enough to accept it, but I think the younger generation probably work out best.
The biggest factor out for drivers is probably fatigue and falling asleep, and it's very easy to, after you drive your 10 hours, fall asleep. So I would say that would be the rear end collisions, falling asleep would be the biggest positive of it. The bad weather would help it, but normally you do slow down or you do some kind of control with bad weather. But the fatigue or falling asleep, it happens, and that would be the biggest plus in the system here.
Yeah, I think the testing, although not exact, did portray real-life situations, because there's always somebody that's stalled out ahead of you. There's always somebody cutting in. And I would say 80% of the time, anytime anybody ever passes a truck, their first reaction once they get past is to take their foot off the gas and slow down.
As far as the training for this system, me myself would only need like a videotape of it to show how it works, and just some instance of what situations it would turn on. Otherwise, just normal. I would view it as emergency situations, and when it happens, I'm just relying on it for it to work.
As stated in Eaton's proposal to NHTSA, the primary objective of this research project is to study the issues associated with the automatic application of the service brakes on heavy-duty commercial vehicles in response to a signal from a collision warning system. Design and testing to date indicates that the technology to create such a system is feasible. However, substantial work is still required in the area of embedded hardware and software controls, and in the refinement of the radar system to identify and track objects for braking purposes. Moreover, a formal study and analysis of the human factors surrounding system use would assist in determining its most acceptable course of implementation. The purpose for an autonomous braking system is clear, and the technology on track to achieve it. Eaton Corporation would like to thank the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration for their grant to demonstrate the feasibility of this autonomous braking concept.